With all of these Taro selectors, I wonder which ones would be the best for my current characters. If only there was a guide about character-specific loadouts or a Taro tier list, that would be super helpful. Hey everyone, TimaeuSS here and welcome to another sort of Convallaria video. That's right, the Taro guide has now been updated. We now have the tier list for the Taros alongside their secret exclusive 4th substat as well as character specific loadouts. Now this information is constantly being updated, okay? So I've got some of the top tier characters with their Taro loadouts alongside notes this time so you can understand why we are equipping some of these Taros. And the lower tier characters and their guides will be coming up next, don't worry, because it takes some time for me to cross match all of these information from the CN as well as the Taiwanese veterans, okay? So cross matching them, making sure that their suggestions, advice and loadouts are in agreement with each other is the most important thing, because yes, their servers have been out for about 8 to 9 months ahead of us, but we need to make sure that you know, they actually have the right things suggested, because they are also updating their guides and making sure that ours is up to date is going to be very important. So in this video we'll go over their breakdowns of the Taro system, their recommendations, their tier list and their character specific loadouts, and explaining some of these choices alongside understanding the Taro ranges for the stats and the dupe stats and the secret stats, and finally the refund systems, making sure that at the end of this video, okay, you will understand how to build a successful Taro and fishing for the right stats for your character. So without further ado, let's get started. Now first things first, if you haven't watched my secret substat video, go watch it, because it goes over the importance of picking a Taro that has a rainbow 4th slot in order to obtain the exclusive 4th substat effect, which pretty much doubles the Taro main effect for most of these, okay? And it's super important. For example, Devil gains 2 stacks instead of 1 per unit death, and this ramps your attack and defense gain by quite a significant amount, so you need to make sure that you understand that. So go watch that video. It's even linked at the full explanation section here as well. Anyhow, let's go into some of these choices and looking at the tier 0 one. So Devil, Magician, Emperor, Justice are the tier 0 Taros, and the most important one is going to be Devil. And all of these need to farm multiple copies, because you have a set for example, a physical damage dealer, a set for a supporting cast, a set for a magical damage dealer, so you always want to farm multiple copies. And I guess as we're speaking about multiple copies, let's just go over the stats first before we jump into the tiers. Okay, so this is by Loot and Waifu, a fantastic guide maker as well, and I'll leave their website down below. But you can see that in the legendary slots, you have a range of stats per Taro, okay, and you will be able to see that for your Taro. And I just pull up on my account here. You have substats with different colors. You can see there's a golden here, there's a rainbow here, and these will offer different ranges of substats based on the color. So ideally you find a Taro piece that has all rainbow color. That means it's legendary substats and it will roll the highest. It has a chance to roll the highest, okay? And especially the 4th slot, because you need to roll the secret effects. So that's one right off the bat you need to understand. The second part is that you can have duplicate stats. That's right, you can have 2 physical attack percentage lines, or 1 physical attack and 2 flat physical attack lines. Okay, this is really crazy. So for optimal builds, for example, you can have a physical damage dealer that wants all 3 lines with physical attack. Of course, it doesn't always happen, and that's why the grind for Taro is almost never ending, because you have the right substats, the right substat range ideally, and then for the last final slot, ideally getting the secret 4th substat, which again, you can already see the RNG layers behind this. That's why it's an end game approach. So early mid game, just find one that has maybe 2 lines of correct substat and just go for that. At least the 4th slot, have it as the rainbow color so you can get a secret exclusive stat. But yeah, it's a very long journey, so don't worry too much, but just understanding that there's a range. When you roll for it, you can have dupe substats and you can have a secret 4th slot is all you need to know at this stage, okay? And you can still upgrade some of these non-ideal Taros, because you gain about 70 50% of the resources refunded. Okay, so if you upgrade this and you enhance them and then you later on decide to recycle it, you're not losing out by a humongous amount versus something like gear where you lose about, I think, 70% instead of losing about 30% in Taro. So that's another thing. Now, that is basically the upgrade system and the dupe range system. Let's now go over finally the tier list for the Taros, okay? So why are these ones tier 0? The Devil one is tier 0 because attack and defense stats are really great bonuses to have, okay? And it's a buff that you get that cannot be dispelled, and you basically have it until the end of the battle. And you get 2 devil stacks per unit death instead of 1 if you unlock the 4th exclusive effect via the Rainbow 4th subslot. And this is effectively a 6% attack, and it converts to either magic attack if you are a spellcaster or a support, or a physical attack if you are a physical damage dealer. It converts it for you, okay? So there's no need to like fish for something specific. It will convert it for you. So the devil stacks also adds defense, which is really good in making your characters tanky. So 6 per unit death. Let's say you killed some mobs before you get to the boss. You will gain such a massive advantage that by the time you reach the boss, your damage dealers are actually going to be slightly more tankier than your main tanks. You'll see it happen when Cole has the devil equipped, the Taro, okay, with his stacks up to, because it's maximum, I do forget, what's the maximum? Let's just take a look at the maximum of 30% defense buff, right? That's quite significant. So for devil, having a piece on your main damage dealer is really strong. And not just that, even if you farm an off piece and it's HP or defense or something, equipping it on your, for example, supports is not bad at all, because heals scale with magic attack as well, and their defense makes them very tanky. So Inanna can also use a devil if you don't have the right piece for her. So very universal in that sense. And Magician, for example, and Emperor and Justice are also aggressive ones, okay? So Magician, there's bit of a mistranslation, and I'll show you guys what I mean for the global side. The Magician one is that increases damage dealt by 8%. This doubles to 16% if you unlock the 4th slot, the secret 4th slot. And when casting a skill for each additional hit on one enemy, so this part is wrong. It's basically for each additional enemy hit, damage increases by 4 up to 12, and this one upgraded as 8 up to 24. Now this is actually meaning that for each damage, each enemy you hit within your AoE, you get the damage increase, okay? So this is what's wrong in terms of the translation. It's an AoE buffing Taro, okay? Not a skill that buffs you repeatedly hitting the same enemy. So this is wrong. So now you can tell that the AoE aspect for Gloria, for Beryl, truly is going to benefit from this Taro, because not only do you get a flat damage dealt increase, you also get AoE buffs as well, right? With the Longinus Lance and with the Full Moon, with all that stuff. This is really good, and hence being in the tier 0 slot. So because you have different characters going for different main stats, we've written here that what you want to farm is all of these tier 0 pieces and get at least 2 or 3 physical attack or 2 or 3 magic attack for each of these, and you want multiple copies as well, because more than one characters will want to rely on these. So that's why these tier 0 ones are so important. Now Emperor is really good in the mid game, where you're just lacking the damage output, but you want to one shot, right? For example, Cole. Sometimes if you are hitting an enemy, you can really one shot the character with a max Emperor. 25% damage bonus against enemies that have greater than 70% HP is quite significant. So this damage boost is really strong. And you basically come a line a bit early versus, for example, Devil, which is a late game carry. So you can mix and match. And again, you want to farm multiple copies, because sometimes in certain fights, you know, Emperor just might suit Devil a bit better. Now Justice is one of my favorite sets actually, but you can see that the Justice is used not so frequently in the higher tier characters at the moment, but for, you know, the single targets, the archers Oh, just is so good because it provides 15% crit rate, and at the secret slot, it can give another 15% crit damage, which is bonkers in terms of what it can provide, right? So this is really, really good. Again, you might make an argument saying that, you know what, why don't I just run everyone on Emperor, or why don't I everyone just run on Justice versus the Devil, which is more late game? I mean, some fights you have just one enemy target, some fights you have multiple, some fights are drawn out. So you really need to mix and match. It also depends on RNG as well. What if a godly justice piece and you never have a satisfactory devil piece? So it all depends on your RNG as well. But I do have notes here. For example, magician because AoE, and then devil because stat boost is huge as the fight drags on. And one thing I do want to know is the world EX. So again, all of these, the tiers assume that you are able to reach the EX stage, because, for example, the world of Taro, okay, is useless almost without the EX skill, because the EX skill is so strong. If no skills were cast ending this unit's turn, reduce all cooldowns by 1. Super strong for a character like Inanna. Okay, Inanna, and she gets to make a ally act again, and she heals passively. So a lot of times you can make someone act again, and the next turn you just don't use any skill. You go into standby and your passive will heal someone, but then because you didn't cast any skill, the world Taro will go -1 on all of your cooldowns, along with the natural -1 when you go end your turn, and then all of a sudden you can make someone act again after. So this is really good for long cooldown characters that greatly benefit from this with really good passives. So all of these are super important, and understanding the EX skill is another key thing. Okay, so like I've said, everything just boils down to upgrading some of the higher tier ones because they are the most universal, and then ideally farming ones that are either all physical attacks or all magical attacks, okay, with maybe 1 line of HP or anything else, but ideally 2 or 3, and then the 4th one you farm for the secret slot. And even if you get an HP or a defense one, that's not the worst in the world, because if you get it on Devil, for example, or another tanky piece of Taro, you can give it to a supporting character or someone else. So yeah, just making sure that you understand why we're having these loadouts done, and why these Taros are ranked the way they are, and the importance of unlocking the 4th secret exclusive effect. So make sure you watch the explanation, alright? But these are the breakdowns, and personally I'll be farming or using my selector on these ones and getting multiple copies, because again, you will need to go for a lot of these before you even get the right one with the right subs. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll upgrade, because when you enhance, right, at level 35 you get to reveal, and level 50 you also get to reveal, which is you see if you get the secret substat slot, but you don't need to actually, you know, commit to level 60, which is when you unlock it. And again, here for example, this piece I will reveal 35 if this is not physical attack. If it's magical attack, it's not the end of the world, because I can give this 2 lines of magical attack piece to someone, a magical attack user, and then at 50 I can see if I will use this piece if it gets the 2 devil charge secret subslot. So that's a lot of rambling, going over some of the higher tiered Taros, and then going over some of this character loadouts. Hopefully this makes it a lot easier to understand, and may your journey in farming these Taros be successful. It's, again, a journey, a marathon, not a race. So take your time, and personally, I won't even worry too much until I'm like level 40 or something, 40, 50. So yeah, I'll give you an update once I have a few good pieces, or once I unlock a secret, the 4th slot on any of my pieces, and show you guys what it looks like. So anyhow, it's TimaeuSS. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye now.